Hey, so question. What do you get when you get an Iron Maiden, a taser, and a new pack of knives? A good time according to the Addams family. Oh my god, welcome to the podcast, y'all. This is the type of answer you can expect. By the way, do you like this music? Doesn't this sound like Addams family music right here? Like, this is the only music that, I can afford because, it's free. But it fits the vibe. I think. It gets the job done. Yeah, I could totally see Addams family chilling in the mansion with this music. Anyway, let's get started. Hey, congratulations on surviving that intro, okay? It's a work in progress. But anyway, welcome to the Mini Talks podcast. I'm your host, Call Me Minnie. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the new characters that we have coming in Season 3. And my take on who they are and their roles for this upcoming season and how this is all going to tie back to Wednesday Addams. Okay, so first of all, we have Ophelia Frump. Ophelia Frump has entered the scene. Auntie has entered the scene. She's been missing for, about 20-something years, I believe? Pretty much ever since Wednesday's been born. Let's just say that, but I know it's been longer than that. Anyway, so yes, Ophelia Frump is coming back into the picture, and she is being played by Eva Green, which is a big name. I think she's worked a lot with Tim Burton in the past, so this is a great reunion for those two. And yeah, she's a well-known actress, so her role is probably going to be a pivotal part within this season. And I think that we're going to unlock some interesting backstories when it comes to Ophelia Frump. Because how could you not? Like, we found out at the end of Season 2 that Hester Frump has actually had Ophelia in her basement or hidden room or whatever you want to call it for pretty much this entire time. Morticia has no idea her sister's been locked up in her mother's basement. And I can only imagine how that's going to go when Morticia and everyone finally finds out that Ophelia has been closer than they thought the entire time. And the main question behind that entire thing is, of course, why? Why has Hester Frump locked her daughter up for nobody can see or find? Like, what is the backstory behind that? Sorry, I'm gonna put in a little notice here. I have guinea pigs, and my guinea pig has decided to drink some water and make some noise. So I'm sorry about that. Just tune it out if you can. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So yeah, Ophelia Frump, yeah, she's gonna have a pivotal role this season. And it's interesting because Ophelia is classified as a raven, just like Wednesday is. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what role she plays in Wednesday's psychic powers. Because as we all know from Season 2, her powers have been on the skids. Her powers have not been functioning correctly. I remember when Weems, at the end of the season, she said that she had only taken the first step in getting her psychic abilities back. And that was, reconciling with her mother and, straightening everything out with her. So it's going to be very interesting to see what other steps she has to take in order to get her abilities back. But I do believe that Ophelia is going to play a key role in that. We also saw at the end of Season 2 that Ophelia had wrote on the wall that Wednesday Addams must die. And there was a lot of speculation behind that. Like, is Ophelia trying to get rid of Wednesday? Or is this like a prophetic warning that maybe she had in another vision? It's really interesting because it could really go either way, I feel. I mean, I don't understand necessarily what would be the motive behind Ophelia trying to get rid of Wednesday, especially since I believe it's implied, they never met. She's been missing this whole time. So what motive would she have to get rid of Wednesday? I'm leaning more towards the theory of Ophelia is probably warning Wednesday. I'm leaning more into that category that, yeah, she's trying to warn Wednesday instead of actively trying to hurt her. And I believe it's like a warning because, as we all know, Wednesday gets herself like in these situations. Like by digging deeper into things that, she probably shouldn't be digging into, it only exposes her to more danger. And the more she seeks out answers, the more danger she puts herself in. Which is kind of what Xavier was trying to tell her in season 1, that, hey, if you just like, remember when she was asking for help and he was like, well, if you just go away, like the prophecy and vision won't come true. And I believe it's kind of following that same thing. Like, if Wednesday just left stuff alone, I don't think that she would be in danger. But then on the other side of that, I feel like there's also forces that are trying to get her involved. Because if you think back to season 1, when at the very end of the season, she remembers she was in the car and she was, monologuing, and she said that apparently Laurel and Tyler might be pawns to an even bigger game. And considering the fact that we did not delve into that in season 2, I don't believe, this makes me think that there is an even bigger villain at play here in this season. And I feel like everything has actively been seeking from the very beginning. I think Laurel was just a pawn, and I believe that all of this was a bigger scheme directly trying to get Wednesday. And that's the thing. I don't know who's behind it. I do believe that there's a grandiose villain, though, that has from the very beginning been trying to hurt Wednesday. And I think we're finally gonna meet that villain this season. And I'm going to now get into how our next character is probably that villain. I'm like maybe a 95% sure. But I do believe that this next character is by far probably the biggest villain of the series, and probably will be the ongoing villain if I had to take a guess. So that brings me to Balthazar. This is a character that is very interesting. When they showed his name in the teaser, his name was also next to another person's. We can only assume it's another person, and it's a question mark. But when I originally saw it, though, I didn't think that way. I actually thought that it was just like a actual question mark next to his name instead of like another person. So if we're looking at it from that point of view, I believe that Balthazar is going to be directly tied into the Hester and Ophelia from storyline. And I will explain the connection there. First of all, I want to say, I believe that Balthazar is a Hyde. I believe he's a Hyde. I also believe he's the leader of the Hyde commune. And I also believe that his family as a whole is running the Hyde commune. And I believe that the other cast members of Atticus, Tabitha, Cyrus, and Daisy, I believe they are all a part of the Balthazar family. And I don't know if they are all Hydes, but since they're in the family, I would assume they would be helping run the Hyde camp. So I do believe that the majority of them are probably Hydes. And yeah, I believe they run the Hyde camp that Isadora Capri just sent Tyler Galpin to. And I definitely think that this is going to end up being quite the spectacular disaster. Um, but going back to what I was saying about Balthazar being the villain, yeah. So I believe he's the big bad villain, and I'll explain why this ties back into Ophelia and Hester from and Wednesday. Okay, so stay with me on this. The last 2 seasons, storylines have always found a way to, connect to each other. Like things that look like it had nothing to do with each other, like 2 storylines that look like it had nothing to do with each other, always, by the end of the season, it all came together. Because like in season 1, you had Laurel Gates and that whole mystery, and then you also had the storyline of the Addams family and why Gomez was accused of murdering Garrett Gates. And that whole thing, by the end of the season, it tied together. And we found out that, yeah, so Garrett Gates had attacked Morticia and Gomez, and Morticia killed him, which was Laurel Gates' brother. Laurel Gates eventually wanted revenge. She came back to get that revenge, and then she resurrected a pilgrim, and that's how that whole storyline came together. And then in season 2, once again, Gomez and Morticia did some crazy stuff and was involved in some crazy stuff, unfortunately. And Isaac Knight was trying to get rid of Francois Knight's Hyde side, but Isaac Knight needed Gomez's ability to power the machine, and Morticia stopped him, which eventually led to him dying. And then Gomez and Morticia covered it up and buried him, and now, present day, their son, Pugsley, resurrected the zombie, and then he came back and found his sister, who happened to be Tyler Galpin's mom, and you know how that all happened. And yeah, so these storylines that look like don't have anything to do with each other always have something to do with each other. So if this season is focused heavily on Hester Frump and Ophelia Frump, and then our next plot is the whole Hyde Commune and Balthazar, best believe that by the end of the season, those 2 things are going to directly be tied to each other. So here's my theory. I believe that Hester Frump and Balthazar knew each other back in the day. I believe that they used to date, and I would even say that maybe at some point they were even maybe engaged. And then something happened, and I this is a theory within itself. I'm gonna kind of give you the spark notes and maybe delve another time into the full thing behind it. But let me just say that I think that Ravens and Hydes have a special connection, and I believe that Hester Frump being a Raven and Balthazar probably being a Hyde, there was some type of connection there, and I believe that it led eventually to them breaking up and never probably wanting, at least on Hester's side, maybe having nothing else to do with Balthazar ever again. And anyway, I don't think he took that rejection well. He went on with his life, though. He had kids and, everything, just kind of, people went on with their lives. Until Balthazar probably found out that Ophelia Frump got married to somebody named Mr. Frump. I meant Hester got married to somebody named Mr. Frump, and he found this out, and I think he's been following Hester Frump and her family this entire time, which eventually led to him finding out about her daughter and how her daughter married Addams and had Wednesday Addams, who is a Raven. Now, quickly to go back to Ophelia Frump and how this all ties into Balthazar and everything like this, I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that at first I thought that maybe Ophelia, her dad, I thought she was the oldest. Someone told me that Morticia is actually the oldest in this version of the Addams family. At first, I thought Ophelia might be the daughter of Hester and Balthazar. Now I kind of want to change that theory to maybe Morticia is the daughter of Balthazar and Hester. And maybe Ophelia found this out and was about to tell Morticia this, and maybe Hester Frump locked her up because of it. Because she did not want Morticia to know that Mr. Frump was not her dad, and that her dad is actually Balthazar. And maybe this big secret is the whole thing that led to Ophelia Frump being locked up. I know, that was a lot to throw in there, and I will explain that all of that better at a later time, but that's just my theory for now. And so if all of that proves to be true, then it's going to be very interesting because we know Wednesday Addams can never leave her man, Tyler Galpin, behind, right? She's going to end up visiting this high commune where Tyler Galpin is at, and everything's going to just go completely downwards. And this is when we're probably going to get Wednesday at probably the lowest point of her life, if I had to take a guess. I think it's been foreshadowed that she's going to have a massive crash out and be an emotional dismay. And I believe it's going to be multiple things that lead to it. Of course, her whole family lying to her all the time. This huge secret between maybe Balthazar and Hester and all of this stuff. And then here comes Tyler Galpin, and that's probably going to send her over the edge. Like, it's going to be too much for her to handle. Like, she's going to need some serious help this season. And this is what I kind of said in the last episode, and maybe a need helping her. But she's going to need a lot of help. Like, it's not just going to be a need helping her. It's going to be a collective effort, I believe. Like, it's going to take all the nightshades, a need, and probably Tyler. If I had to take a guess, this is Tyler Galpin's time to shine, because we all know that Tyler Galpin does not play about his girl Wednesday. Now, he might act like he hates her and stuff like that, but he absolutely does not hate Wednesday Addams. He's had multiple opportunities to kill her, and he has not done it yet. And that moment when she was getting buried and he was looking completely conflicted and distraught, that said everything you needed to know about their relationship. So this is Tyler Galpin's time to shine. This is his time to help Wednesday any way he possibly can. There's even been an ongoing theory that's been circulating that Wednesday, the prophecy that Ophelia predicted, Wednesday actually is going to die and sometime this season. And I subscribe to that theory. I think she actually might. And of course she won't die for real. She'll be brought back somehow. But I definitely subscribe to the theory that she at some point is probably going to get herself killed. And I don't know how we're bringing her back. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to have to be some type of spiritual journey that somebody has to go on in order to get her back to the land of the living. But I do believe that that's something that's probably going to end up happening at some point this season. So again, I'll dive into that theory a little bit more in another episode. But going back to the new characters and stuff this season. I'm sorry, I kind of went on a tangent, but we're tying it back. So Balthazar, Ophelia Frump, Hester Frump, Wednesday Addams, these new family members of Atticus, Tabitha, Cyrus, and Daisy, perhaps. All of that's connected, I believe. And then we had 3 more people join this cast. Andrew McCarthy, Lena Headey, and James Lance. And I will tell you this right now. Just because of how many other new characters we got, I 100% believe, this is why I believe that the theory that Balthazar and Hester Frump knew each other, the reason why I think it's a real good possibility of that is because I fully believe that at least Lena Headey and James Lance, those two, I believe, are playing flashbacks characters. Because if you look at Lena Headey, she kind of looks like young Hester from. She does. And I'll even put like a side. I'll put the graphic up of what I had thought of the whole family relationship. I'll put that up so you can see it in the video. And then James Lance, he looks like a young Balthazar. I think those two characters were specifically added to be the younger versions of Hester and Balthazar. And then you have Andrew McCarthy. And I remember I said in the last episode that Capri is either going to be the music teacher still or the new principal. I am leaning more now towards Andrew McCarthy being the new principal. Someone had said, it was another, I think it was from the Wednesday Universe YouTube channel. I believe he said that Andrew McCarthy, his roles usually he usually plays people that seem to be nice, and then eventually you find out that they're not so nice. So if we're going to that theory, I believe Andrew McCarthy might be the new principal, and I also believe that he could possibly be the brother of Balthazar. So that would be where the ones we just got, the three new cast members come in. So that was a mouthful. I know. I also have a theory that perhaps Balthazar is also related to Tyler. And I know you're probably like, what? How if Balthazar is related to Wednesday? Okay, that's a maybe. Okay, there's two theories I had with Balthazar. Either he's related to the Addams Front family in some way, or he's directly related to Tyler Galpin. And it's either one or the two. It won't be both. Because if it was both, then that means Tyler Galpin in some way would be related to Wednesday. And that's definitely, that can't be true. Okay, that would be weird. There's a lot of things that's weird that happens in the Addams family, but that would be too weird. That would be wouldn't that be, if that was true, wouldn't that end up being her cousin, her second cousin or something? Tyler Galpin? No. No. Anyway, so it's either one or the two. Either Balthazar is related to the Addams Front family in some way, or he's related to Tyler Galpin in some way. And just to say that even if Balthazar is not related to the Addams Front family, it does not mean that he still didn't date Hester Front back in the day, and that he just, has an ongoing crush for her and maybe wants to stalk her and her family. That it doesn't mean that can't still be a possibility. So let's not act like Balthazar and Hester Front has no connection to each other, because I 100% believe they do. And rather, Ophelia and Morticia also falls into the relation of it all. That's yet to be seen. But I believe that he's either, like I said, he's either related to Ophelia and Morticia in some way, or he is also related to Tyler Galpin. And I'll explain why the theory that he's related to Tyler Galpin. Okay, so we found out last season that Tyler Galpin, his mother is Francoise Knight, and his uncle is Isaac Knight. And if think back to when Thing had a ring on, right? And we found out that ring was actually a knight. It was a knight symbol, but we didn't know that it meant that, he was a knight. We didn't know it was Isaac Knight's hand, okay? We didn't know that. Now, knowing what we know, Francois and Isaac Knight attended Nevermore, which is a high prestigious type of school. You need probably money to get into that school, correct? So that means that the Knight family must have had some money, from somewhere, or was prestigious enough to get into the school, 2 kids into the school at that. So, if we're following that theory, then that would mean that the Knight family had some type of, grandiose stature in life. And, Tyler, he didn't grow up like that, though, because we found out that, Francois's dad and Isaac's dad was abusive, at least we know, to Francois, because Isaac explained that the reason that Francois even hid it out was because her dad had slapped her when she found out that she was with Normie. So that would imply that I believe, at least to me, I believe that Francois's dad was a Hyde. So if Francois's dad was a Hyde, and Balthazar might be a Hyde, and Balthazar kind of looks like he could be related to Isaac and Tyler. They look at the pictures. Look at the pictures of Chris Sarandon, and look at the pictures of Isaac and Tyler, and tell me that Chris Sarandon, who's playing Balthazar, does not look like Isaac and Tyler. So, if that theory is true, I believe that would mean that Balthazar would be Isaac and Francois's dad, long lost dad, and that would also mean that Balthazar would be Tyler's grandfather. And I could see that storyline playing out, because imagine Isadora Capri drops Tyler Galpin off at the Hyde commune. Tyler Galpin, coming to find out, he finds out that Balthazar is his grandfather, and he tries to influence him because he probably knows about the history between at this point, let's not assume that if he's the big bad villain of the whole series, let's not assume that Balthazar does not know about Tyler Galpin and Wednesday's relationship. So if he knows about that, then I could totally see him trying to get Tyler Galpin to go against Wednesday, and we know he won't do it, but we can all picture it. And for whatever agenda and whatever problem he has with the Addams family and Wednesday, and I can see that being a storyline. And Tyler, this would be the moment where, since he has no masters now controlling him, this would be his moment that he would have to choose. Like, whose side are you on? Are you gonna side with your family, the Balthazar family that you just found out about, the Balthazar Knight family? Or are you going to choose the Addams family and Wednesday? And I believe he could be at a crossroads if that turns out to be the case. And it's gonna be a pivotal moment for him and his character. And this is why I say, we're gonna get a Tyler Galpin redemption. If he wasn't redeemable, he would not still be in the storyline. And like I said, considering we found out, think about this too. Besides Bianca, and I won't even really count Bianca, because the only reason we really know about her family is because it was used as a B plot. Let's keep it real. If her character wasn't directly tied to a B plot, we would not know about her mom and all the stuff that happened with the cult and all that stuff. Anyway, the only other character that we really know in depth about their family, is Tyler Galpin. We've been introduced to his dad, his mom, his uncle, and Thing, Wednesday's uncle that she grew up with. Come to find out, is Tyler Galpin's actual uncle. And I told you that this would probably end up, being a Whaler related podcast to some degree, is because this is why I think Tyler Galpin and Wednesday are going to be together by the end of this series. Because why would you tie Tyler Galpin to Wednesday's family in any way? What was the point of that? There's no point of tying Thing and Tyler Galpin together if at some point you don't plan on making Tyler Galpin involved in the Addams family in some way. And the quickest way for that to happen would be him in the future marrying Wednesday Addams. Okay? The math is mathing. I don't know how else to put it, you guys. Like, the math is mathing. Why did you get rid of his mom and his dad? Why did you make Tyler Galpin an orphan if not for the Addams family at some point to take him in? And like, his uncle, his thing is already a part of the family. It 1 + 1 = 2. I don't know what else to tell you. 1 + 1 = 2, you guys. I don't feel like this is far-fetched out of the realm of possibility. I feel like there's been too much groundwork. So anyway, we'll see how it all plays out and how it all goes. I'm going to wrap this podcast up because you might hear my guinea pigs. It's about time for them to eat, and they're getting fussy over there. So I'm gonna wrap up this podcast, and in the next podcast, we're gonna discuss something even. We're gonna discuss the theory of something probably even more outlandish than the theories I just threw out there today. But all I'm gonna say is, what do you get when you have 2 ravens, 2 hides, and a wedding chapel? Married, of course, duh. And I'll leave you to ponder where I'm going with that. Alright, thank you so much for watching Mini Talks. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I will see you all in the next episode.